Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about micro movements. Now, this is like partial range of motion, and by no means am I saying just to do these types of movements, but what I am saying is that there is a usefulness to them sometimes. So, for instance, let me make an example right now. But why wouldn't I? For instance, when I'm doing bicep curls, I like to do full movements. I mean, I keep a slight bend of the elbows at the bottom, whether I'm doing incline curls or whether I'm doing barbell or whatever. But what I have noticed is because of my particular situation, such as a dislocating shoulder and a partial bicep tear from many years ago, chiropractor did it, wasn't in the gym, whatever. But the bottom line is that from those injuries, I noticed that if I come all the way down, some of the stabilizer muscles in the shoulder, or the rotator cuff muscles, you could say, and some of the front delt comes into the movement a little bit more. And I also noticed a little bit of slack in the shoulders where they want to come forward. And this takes some of the stress off the constant tension on the bicep, right? So you want to have constant tension on a muscle in order to really hit failure, really to push it deep into that level of failure so that it adapts. So one of the things I'll do is I'll do some fuller range movements, such as full range curls, so forth, you know, all the way up, all the way down, or at least, you know, bending the elbow all the way up and all the way down with the elbows back. And then what I will do is something similar to, you know, the 21 sort of method, but I'll just grab the bar and just do little movements like this to really make sure that the bicep brachii, right, this is hitting failure instead of the forearm coming in more and the brachialis and so forth, right? So sometimes you'll find there's these certain parts of your body which are not getting challenged. And the only way to challenge them is to really focus or tune into a micro movement of some sort. So again, you may find this with different things. Another example might be your medialis muscle when it comes down to your quadriceps, right? So one of the movements I'm doing, like I've showed you before to warm up and stuff, is, you know, doing these small movements on a stair as I push the knee way over the toe and stick the foot out. This not only helps rehabilitate the knee, but also helps strengthen the medialis, which is important in keeping the knee in one piece, right? The other way to work the medialis is to do really deep squats. But again, sometimes when you are going so deep, you may be injuring the knee and stuff and not necessarily pushing it the way you want, right? So it is helpful to find these little magic movements when it comes down to your training and see what works. Now, there's another subtlety that I did just the other night, which is something I've done on and off over the years, but I don't think I've ever mentioned it in the videos, where when I'm doing bent over lateral raises, and sometimes I'll do this by leaning on an incline bench, and I'll do bent over lateral raises with external rotation to get that rotator cuff. But one of the things I was doing last night experimenting with is turning the palms in, like supinating them, or keeping the palms out. And just by doing this and taking the bicep out of the movement a bit, what was happening was I was getting more trap in it, more neck movement, right? So if you want to focus on the traps, you may notice just something as simple as just shifting the positioning of your hands may bring in more trap or less trap, or more shoulder or less shoulder, depending on what you want, right? So these micro movements can make a massive difference, not only in upping your results, but also bringing in more motivation, because let's face it, it's really frustrating. Like, I don't know how many times you've had this, but you've probably trained and you're like, wow, it just feels like something's happening, but not the thing that I'm looking for. It doesn't feel like I'm getting that overwhelming overload on the muscle I want to hit. Like a bunch of other muscles are experiencing fatigue, the overall system may be experiencing fatigue, maybe you're out of breath, but are you really hitting that muscle you want to force to adapt? And that's really the question. And that's the question you ask yourself as a natural bodybuilder when you want to put results on areas which are maybe stubborn areas and so forth. So yeah, so this is something to experiment with. You know, find out if there's a micro movement on top of the full movement that you're doing that may help accentuate a certain muscle group, or possibly shape the muscle the way you are looking for at this time, which means, again, you can't really shape an individual muscle, but what you can do is make it bigger in relationship to other ones. So there you go. Okay, so for you Puritans out there, I just answered you. Okay, no problem, I understand. You can't shape an individual muscle, but you can make it bigger, and you can make sure that you overload it. So yeah, I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Got to get these guns out. And mountain. Yeah. Take that. Now I'm going to wander off into the sunset. You know what? I actually brought my truck. I should probably take my truck home. I'm going to take the truck home. Yeah, that helps.